It has not been called all-out war, not yet, but it has looked more and more like it today as Israel pounded what it says were 1,300 Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. It was the deadliest day by far there in almost a year since Hezbollah sided with Hamas in the fallout from the October the 7th massacre. 500 Lebanese people were reported to have been killed, with 1,600 or more wounded, as we're about to see. Lebanon says civilians were hit. Fearing worse is to come, the United States is bolstering the 40,000 troops it already has in the Middle East. The Israeli Defense Forces say their airstrikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon were targeting weapon stores of rockets and other missiles, many they say housed in or near residential buildings. Israel had warned civilians to evacuate.
This is not Gaza, it's Lebanon. But the south of this country is starting to look and sound like a second front line. Israel says it's targeting Hezbollah positions. From dawn, the attacks have been relentless. But this is not solely a launch site for the militant group. It is home to hundreds of thousands of people. And they are dying under intense bombardment. The missiles began to fall in the early morning, shortly after a warning from the Israeli military to evacuate.
The IDF will engage in extensive, precise strikes against terror targets which have been embedded widely throughout Lebanon. We ask residents of Lebanese villages to pay attention to the message and warning published by the IDF and heed them.
Thousands did heed the warning to leave, but there are few safe routes. Just beyond the south, two-way motorways were packed with traffic in only one direction. Most are heading for Beirut, where schools have been made into shelters. These are some of the people who fled north this morning as the bombing began. This is supposed to be a place of safety, but no one feels safe here now. Abu Ali and his family left their home first thing.
They started hitting the houses, and we said it's not a joke this time. It's not in the valleys or the mountains. They were hitting the civilian houses. We decided to leave, but all along the road they were hitting. We fled under bombardment.
Those living in the Bekaa Valley in the east were the next to be given evacuation orders, with 2 hours to leave before the bombardment began. This footage captures the moment a TV analyst was injured by a strike close to his home as he went on air. Tonight, the focus shifted to Beirut and a targeted strike aimed at Ali Karaki, one of the last surviving senior Hezbollah commanders. Hezbollah says that strike was not successful and Karaki is still alive. Tonight, this nation is braced for what else is to come. Emma Murphy, News at 10, Beirut.
Well, Hezbollah responded to today's bombardment by extending their rocket attacks further into Israel. They are still landing largely in the north of Israel, but Hezbollah also targeted an IDF air base near the city of Haifa, as well as a company that develops weapons and military technology for the IDF. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned, whoever tries to hurt us, we will hurt them even more.
This is a village in southern Lebanon.
Conscious that civilian casualties are a big issue, the Israelis put out this animation to illustrate their claim that Hezbollah has hidden much of its arsenal in or under residential homes. Later, the IDF released drone footage and other video in which secondary explosions following airstrikes are clearly visible. Israel says these additional blasts prove their point, as they were caused by the detonation of concealed Hezbollah weapons, some flying off haphazardly. Tonight, Israel's Prime Minister stated that his country is now on a war footing with Hezbollah, and he urged Lebanese civilians to heed IDF warnings to flee certain areas.
I have a message for the people of Lebanon. Israel's war is not with you. It's with Hezbollah. Now, starting this morning, the IDF has warned you to get out of harm's way. I urge you, take this warning seriously. Don't let Hezbollah endanger your lives and the lives of your loved ones.
It's no coincidence the Israelis made their case for hitting ostensibly civilian buildings on the same day that their Air Force, on its highest state of alert, attacked more than 1,300 targets, killing nearly 500, according to the Lebanese authorities. The Israelis are conducting airstrikes further north, and Hezbollah are firing missiles and rockets further south. These are interceptions above the port city of Haifa tonight. The tit-for-tat exchanges are becoming more extensive and worrying by the day.
And tonight, John's in Tel Aviv, Emma's in Beirut and Dan's in New York, where world leaders are gathering to discuss the growing crisis in the Middle East. John, maybe let's start with you. What is the strategic thinking of the Israelis, and how will they fare if the war does escalate?
Good evening, Tom. I think as we speak, the Israeli government is contemplating ordering a ground invasion that it doesn't want to have to resort to, because the last two didn't go very well. In 1982, the IDF advanced as far as Beirut, but that invasion evolved into an 18-year occupation, during which time Hezbollah was actually created, so it backfired. In 2006, the last invasion was part and parcel of a 34-day war that ended in a stalemate. Indeed, both sides were so chastened by their losses that mutual deterrence prevented a resumption of hostilities until October the 7th last year. Hezbollah represent a sterner enemy than Hamas. Remember, the IDF have been able to surround the Gaza Strip, but Hamas remain undefeated. Hezbollah are well trained. Some of them are battle hardened by fighting for the Assad regime during the Syrian civil war. So for the Israelis, an invasion is a daunting prospect, and from their point of view, history, Tom, is not very encouraging.
OK, John, well, maybe I can put all that to Emma. You know, you're in Beirut. Hezbollah obviously deciding what to do, how much they escalate. What do you think they're thinking?
There's been no official comment from Hezbollah today, apart from to confirm the survival of the commander that was targeted in the strike down in the southern suburbs just behind me. But sources we've been speaking to who are close to the organisation say that, yes, fair enough, it has been an incredibly bad few days for them, but they are still very much in this game. They still have their long-range weapons and they're preparing to use them. And I think that does not bode well for Israel in the days ahead. And it's something that I think Western officials probably concur with. One I spoke to today said that he'd be more concerned being in Israel in the days ahead rather than Lebanon. But, you know, aside from all of the issues to do with Hezbollah and Israel, the real tragedy is for Lebanon and the people of Lebanon. 500 killed today. That is as large a death toll in a day as there was during the Civil War. And tonight there are tens of thousands on the move, heading north, totally displaced, hoping to find safety up here, but with no real sense that they will actually get it.
Well, Dan, maybe I can come to you in New York. You're there waiting for the world leaders to gather to meet tomorrow. I mean, more American troops heading to the Middle East. What do you think the White House's real intentions are, and how far do you think they would actually go when push came to shove to support Israel?
Well, I mean, I think this is a sign of deep concern that the Pentagon are briefing that they are sending more troops to the region. They already have 40,000 around the eastern Mediterranean. We're also being told that Lloyd Austin, the Defence Secretary, had calls with his opposite number in Israel, Yoav Gallant, the two former generals, talking about the risk of escalation on the phone on both Saturday and Sunday. That is a sign of how serious they are taking this crisis. And it's a crisis that's going to dominate here at the UN General Assembly, as you said. That gets underway tomorrow with Joe Biden, President Biden, whose convoy just came past us a few moments ago. He'll be speaking, obviously trying to look for any kind of opportunity to seize this ceasefire deal and try and pull both sides back. But the signs are not good. And frankly, I think the UN is going to struggle to have any real effect on the ground on any of the parties involved.
OK, John, Emma and Dan, thank you very much indeed.